Welcome. In this session, I am going to discuss about mechanism of hormone action. Here, each hormone has a specific receptors present on its target tissues, and they are called hormone receptors. Hormone receptors are proteins, and these are present only on target tissues. Now these receptors may be present inside the cell or on the cell membrane. So receptors located in the membrane, or they may be located inside the cell. Right? If they are present in the cell membrane, they are called membrane bound receptors. They are called membrane receptors. Whereas the hormone receptors which are present inside the cell, they are called intracellular receptors. So these intracellular receptors are mostly present inside the nucleus. They are mostly present inside the nucleus. Of course, there are certain receptors which may be present in cytoplasm also, but mostly these receptors are present inside the nucleus. So they are called intracellular receptors. Now, when the hormone binds to the receptor, it results in the formation of a hormone receptor complex. So, a hormone, it binds to a hormone receptor. So, this results in the formation of hormone receptor complex. This receptor complex will form on the membrane. So if that receptor is present in the cell membrane, and if the receptor is present inside the cell, then this hormone receptor complex is formed inside the cell. So this hormone receptor complex formation, it results in certain biochemical changes in the target tissue. So it results in certain biochemical changes. So biochemical changes that take place uh, inside the cell, or that is in the target tissue. Now we will see different types of hormones that are classified based on their chemical nature, and then later we will see how the hormones bring about those biochemical changes in the target tissues. Right, so based on the chemical nature of hormones, so these hormones are classified into different types. So one, they are called peptide hormones. So these peptide hormones, we can also call them polypeptide hormones or protein hormones. So all are one and the same. So these hormones, the protein or polypeptide hormones, are the one that are made up of a polymer of amino acids. So these are hormones that contain a polymer of that contain polymer of amino acids. Examples of these hormones include insulin, glucagon, and then hormones of pituitary gland and hypothalamic hormones, and even hypothalamic hormones. So all these are peptide hormones or protein hormones, The next group of hormones are called steroid hormones. So steroids. So these steroid hormones are the hormones that are derived from cholesterol. So these are derived from cholesterol. Some examples of these steroid hormones include corticosteroids, then estrogens, and then progesterone and testosterone are steroid hormones. The next group of hormones are iodothyronines. Are iodothyronines. So these iodothyronines are derived from iodine. So these are derived from iodine. Derived from iodine. So examples of this hormone, it includes those hormones from thyroid gland. So thyroid hormones are examples of iodothyronines. Then the last group of these hormones are amino acid derivatives. Amino acid derivatives. So here these amino acid derivatives are derived from single amino acids. Derived from single amino acids. Examples of these amino acid derivatives include epinephrine. So this epinephrine is a hormone that is derived from tryptophan amino acid. This is from tryptophan acid. And then another hormone called melatonin. So this is also derived from the amino acid tryptophan. Then another hormone called thyroxine, and this one is derived from tyrosine, from amino acid called tyrosine, right? So these are some examples of amino acid derivatives which are actually derived from single amino acids. So epinephrine from tryptophan, melatonin also from tryptophan, then thyroxine from tyrosine amino acid. So these are four categories of hormones basing on their chemical nature. We know that hormones are called chemical messengers. So hormones are chemical chemical messengers, and these messengers are classified into two types. They are called primary messengers and secondary messengers. So I'll write it separately. So messengers that are classified into two types: primary messengers and secondary messengers. So here the primary messengers are hormones. All those primary messengers are hormones. While coming to the secondary messengers, so these are like the CAMP, that is cyclic adenosine monophosphate, then IP3, then calcium ions, etc., will act as the secondary messengers. Okay, so CAMP, that stands for cyclic adenosine monophosphate, and whereas the IP3, it stands for inositol, so it stands for inositol triphosphate. And these CMPs are actually generated from ATP molecules. So here the ATP molecule is the source which results in the formation of CAMP, the cyclic adenosine monophosphate, in the presence of an enzyme called adenylate cyclase. In the presence of an enzyme adenylate cyclase, or you can also call it adenyl cyclase. So here I show you the CAMP chemical structure. So you can see this is the adenine molecule, and this is the sugar molecule and the phosphate group, right? So this is CAMP, whose molecular formula is C10H11N5O6P, is its chemical formula. So this is the cyclic AMP that acts as a secondary messengers, and these secondary messengers are especially required when the receptor is present in the membrane, or when the hormone is not able to enter into the cell. Then these secondary messengers are very much helpful and play a key role in uh, sending the information into the cell. Now let's see how these hormones bring about those biochemical changes inside the cell. So here, for most of the uh, protein hormones, the receptors are present. The receptors are present in the membrane. Right, so here we'll take an example, the FSH. So this is the ovarian cell membrane. So this part is the ovarian cell membrane, and here a protein hormone, the FSH. So here already we have seen the pituitary hormones are the peptide hormones or protein hormones, right? So this FSH is a gonadotropin that is released from the pituitary gland, and its receptor is present in the cell membrane. So you can see this is the receptor present in the cell membrane of ovary. Now here the FSH will not enter into the cell. The follicle stimulating hormone now comes and binds to this receptor. Now this results in the formation of hormone receptor complex. So it resulted in the formation of hormone receptor complex. Now this hormone receptor complex results in conversion of ATP to CAMP. So there is a formation of CAMP that will be from the ATP molecule, and that takes place in the cytoplasm, that is on the inner side of the cell membrane. In the cytoplasm this process takes place. So the CAMP, so the generation of second messenger CAMP, or calcium ions can also form, in this case follicle stimulating hormone. And just now I have told you that CAMP is formed from ATP molecule in the presence of adenylate cyclase enzyme. And this CAMP now will bring about those biochemical responses, like the development of ovarian follicles in the ovary. So development of ovarian follicles in the ovary. And this is how a protein hormone functions. The protein hormone never enters into the cell. It binds only to the receptor which is present in the membrane, and that actually triggers a response inside the cell. So here the response is a conversion of ATP to, so the response is actually conversion of ATP to CAMP, cyclic AMP. That is what here they mentioned, generation of secondary messengers. So this CAMP is a short-lived secondary messenger, is a short-lived secondary messenger, right? And finally, the physiological response is the development of ovarian follicles into graphene follicles, and thereby releasing the egg if it gets ruptured. So now let's see the next one about the action of steroid hormones. So here we'll see about steroid hormone. So that's action of a steroid hormone. So for these steroid hormones, the receptors are present inside the cell, and I told you that mostly they are present inside the nucleus. So here this is the nucleus, and this is the membrane. So here we take an example, estrogens. It is a common term for many different hormones produced. So here actually one example of estrogen is estradiol. We'll take estradiol here. So it's a estrogen hormone, and here is the hormone that actually it can easily pass through the membrane as it is a lipid soluble. So these are actually called lipid soluble hormones. We can classify the hormones into water soluble hormones and lipid soluble hormones. So for those water soluble hormones, the receptors are present in the plasma membrane. Receptors are present in the plasma membrane. Whereas for the lipid soluble hormones, the receptors are present inside the cell. They are present inside the cell. Okay, right? So this estradiol is a lipid soluble hormone. So because of this, it straight away passes through the membrane. So this is a uterine cell membrane, and then it enters into the nucleus. And in the nucleus, you can see there is the receptor. So this is the receptor, and it has received the estradiol and resulted in the formation of hormone receptor complex, right? Now this hormone receptor complex will bind to a specific region on the DNA, and that results in the process of transcription and results in the formation of mRNA. So we know transcription is a process where it results in the formation of RNA molecules from DNA. So here, when the hormone receptor complex binds to a specific part of the DNA, it results in transcription and formation of mRNA. And the mRNA will undergo translation. So the mRNA undergoes translation process, and then it results in the formation of specific proteins, and that protein will bring about the physiological response. So here the physiological response in the case of estradiol is the tissue growth and differentiation, right? So this tissue growth and differentiation is of endometrium. So these estrogens bring about different physiological changes in tissue growth and differentiation of endometrium. So this is how the action of steroid hormones takes place. So with this, uh, we complete the synopsis. In the next session, we will start discussing about objective questions on this chapter.